Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Bayu Agung Prasetya, and today I will make video in YouTube about we will talk about politics in Indonesia. This is my first video, and my video I give a title Infrastructure Development in Indonesia for the capitalists or the people. Nah, infrastructure development, which has been planned and operated by the government of Indonesia since early 2014. The study of academics and activists focus more on the community's rejection of infrastructure development, which is considered a waste of funds, burden the state debt, and doesn't solve economic problems. It's predicted that the president decision will create high economic inequality in the future. Conceptually, infrastructure can be an improvement in Indonesia economic development going forward. Such in case, I take China for example, with infrastructure development in China. Infrastructure development began in the 1980 until now, which is too massive. However, the comparison of economic growth is very far compared to Indonesia. This was relayed by the former coordinating minister for maritime affairs and research, China, experienced 12% economic growth for 25 years. So if China builds fishing and road infrastructure, there will no problem because its economic growth is 12% per hour. The investment will eventually return. Nah, he said when he gave a seminar in Auditorium Faculty Political Science, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. Nah, I will discuss about China infrastructure development. The condition of the previous infrastructure was a bad as condition infrastructure in Indonesia. Sin. However, over the past 20 years ago, the Chinese government has intensive invest in infrastructure in the transportation sector. In the transportation sector, infrastructure development means opening up access markets because the domestic market is integrated. Production, distribution, and transportation costs are reduced. This allows China to compete locally as well as internationally. In addition to contributing the growth, infrastructure investment with the Chinese government have also success in reducing population poverty and improving economic and banking service. However, at the level of implementation, there is a fundamental difference between infrastructure development in Indonesia and China. The concept and stake of infrastructure development and stake of infrastructure development in China are very clear because it reduces poverty and provide economic service through small business, while Indonesia it's only for capitalist interest. During the 7 years from 1994 to 20 decade, the Chinese government spent uh, spent 920 million to build roads in 529 per district in 21 provinces. In that period, uh, 420,000 kilometers of highway were built every year. In 22, the total area of highway connecting the new cities in China was maybe about 1,000 million kilometer from 21 until 2011. Infrastructure investment in China increased tenfold, tenfold from $7 billion to $74 billion. In Indonesia, infrastructure is built only for the benefit of investors. Only some of the infrastructure can be used by community. However, the entire accessibility of large companies is cutting the distribution of goods. This road is vital because will connect the company and the market. Feeder lanes are needed for feeder lanes as well, transportation subsidy. Meanwhile, community facilities are only capitalists, so that not all people, after passing the toll road, will reach their final destination. If it's not available, it causes people to choose the city road. So it's impossible for small class who are used to cheap tariff to switch from to the road. On other hand, infrastructure development that's sold to the private sector is what creates anxiety in the future. Nah, the development will only cause new problems. Until now, there has been no sign of the contribution of infrastructure to pay attention to small communities. Although from the beginning it was remind to integrate. What is even more ironic is that the infrastructure itself is built in all regions and some also the private sector, so that it can lead to monopoly of capital from business owners. The problem is the number of infrastructure funds, 31 billion or 40 billion rupiah when compared to principle of benefit reserve by community, namely increasing community accessibility and convenience is not very useful. Nah, in part of 3, I will make comparing root of problem about China and Indonesia. If we look closely, the root of problem of infrastructure development, the powerlessness of the state towards investor, the lack of capital owned by the state, and disintegration of development as well as the impartiality of the state towards the community. As a result, the community does not benefit from this development. Long times we wide infrastructure was built and then privately owned. Finally, only for large containers and private vehicles. According to public policy, because the root of the problem is clear, the solution is clear, namely how to strengthen the state against a strong grip and depends on investor, especially large company. namely by developing of people economy and good governance of state-owned enterprise. However, this public policy didn't work considering that infrastructure problems are not just technically issue, they are more political and economic, so that many people play there, yeah, bad business, bad government, politician, automotive company, dealers, technical departments, transportation, finance, military police, mafia, and others, especially multinational corporation. The mistake is to look at the infrastructure from a technical point of view only. So when looking at infrastructure development in Indonesia, for example, we only compare easy accessibility with number of motorized vehicle, basically. Then the solution is to build toll roads or other infrastructure. All of this has become magnet for companies that are increasingly controlling access to transportation in Indonesia. The dominance of investment development through infrastructure cannot be separated from economic policies that are more pursuing high growth. The development of the automotive industry brings a very large multiplier effect from the absorption of a lot of labor of the motor vehicle tax. So it's very supportive of high economic growth. The government reluctance to development good public transportation is inseparable from the interest of the automotive business. If public transportation is good, people will choose public transportation, rarely by buying a private car. As a result, the automotive industry is less developed, economic growth is low. Nah, development of human resource, people economy, and evolution. The choice of infrastructure improvement that fail of on human resource development seem to be based more of human development human consider. Namely compare the monorail, subway, or KRL in Indonesia. The cost of human development is much lighter even though it takes a long time. However, investment in human resource to develop Indonesia it's quite convincing. Initiating the initial step for to fix people economy talks and with training and show that they can compete with in the market. Meanwhile, for toll infrastructure issues and soon, priority must be given to the development of mass transportation via trains, bus, on other. For what? The importance of reviving the national train has been in the past as mode mass transportation and vehicle lanes as unknown motorized mode of transportation, but of which are not included in the transportation master plan. Both are technically very possible to implement when there is political will. Most importantly, do you have the courage to face the country facing the dominance of the automotive industry? In China, is successful because it's accompanied by several roundabouts that limit private mobile operation, such as implementing odd and even number weekly car-free days, establishing two-lane busway, and imposing vehicle tax. On the other hand, China infrastructure aimed for Chinese community products such as cell phones, agricultural products, and others. to be distributed easily, but both nationally and internationally. Indonesia also has to learn directly from China. How people initially increase the country's industry, they are happy because the economic income with the presence of investment can make life easier and more prosperous. What's the important to remind the government of Indonesia is to immediately build a people economy in one world concept as well as infrastructure development only for the spirit of people economic well to improve people welfare. Yeah, this is my opinion about infrastructure development in Indonesia for the capitalists or the people. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye.